Welcome to The Profile. I'm Gary Dunn, and tonight on the couch, or the chair, we've had many requests to get you on the show, Mr. Peter Andersen.
Gary Dunn, thank you very much, and that's a nice compliment.
Mate, thank you for joining us.
There must be a lot of funny people out there.
Yeah, there are. Obviously, if you've watched the show, we've got plenty of them on here. But so, Peter, where were you born? Where did it all start for you?
I was born in Midland Junction.
Did you say bored or born?
Yes.
You're bored in Midland Junction.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, you got me straight away.
Yeah, it was, it was a lovely town. There was the railways and the abattoirs.
Yep.
And I went to school there, Governor Stirling Senior High School.
Well,
great name, isn't it?
Very posh compared to Balga High School.
Why, hey. We were still in Midland. Actually, I love Midland. I had a lot of fun in Midland when I was young.
Yeah.
It's probably how I ended up in the business. My father belonged to the Midland Bassendean Cycling Club, push bikes.
Yep.
And Friday nights in summer, they'd have riding the push bikes around a concrete track.
Yep.
There was a few accidents. And one night they had the PCYC, as it's known now, the police boys in those days, had a boxing ring in the middle of the oval.
Yep.
And the kids got up and did their bit. And there was a guest artist by the name of Tex Croft.
Tex Croft?
Yeah.
There's a name on
Clem Croft's brother, in fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he played country, and he had this beautiful guitar. And I sort of crept up beside the boxing ring and ran my fingers across the strings, and it was the most magical sound I'd ever heard. I thought, oh, I've got to have one of those.
Yeah.
So
was that the moment that you decided, hey...
Oh, yeah, it was just the sound the guitar made was, enthralled me.
Because you play bass,
Mm-hmm.
you play guitar,
Yep.
you play sax.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're an unbelievable singer. I've seen you sing. But
Primarily a singer.
You also did that other thing, drums.
So, yeah. I know, very primeval, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're a multi-talented musician.
Yeah,
really.
all those things happened by accident, actually. Yep. Primarily I was a singer.
Yep.
But I really wanted to learn guitar, so I went to Billy Barnes School of Music.
Love it.
And I learned guitar. Basically, I learnt chords that I could sing along with, because all I wanted to do was sing, so
Yep.
I needed accompaniment. How the drums came around was I was in my first band, the Tornadoes.
Yep.
Peter Andersen and the Tornadoes, and Ken Mitchell was the keyboard player. He was, yeah.
That's my thermometer.
Yeah. It's moved.
Yes, it certainly has.
You didn't trust the other man, did you?
No.
The other person with the bill.
No.
So Ken was right into Jerry Lee, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yep.
And that was great. We had keyboards, bass, guitar, drums, and me out front as vocals. Came the Shadows, and piano was redundant. No one was. It was two guitars, bass, and drums. That's all that.
You were thinking survival mode?
Yeah. So Ken, the keyboard player, learnt drums.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can play drums, as you know.
Yeah. Someone's not too happy with you, Pete.
So Ken went on the drums, but to feature him occasionally, we'd bring him back out from behind the kit and feature him on keyboards.
The real instrument.
Yeah.
So you had to go on drums.
That's right. See, as I said, anyone can play drums.
What can I say?
So
No offence to any drummers.
So that's how I
Cool.
branched out from
Yeah.
guitar initially to playing drums, and I think bass is an art in itself. But if you play guitar, you can get through on bass.
You can get through, but bass is certainly I mean, without that bass
You've
feel
got
and the drum, I mean that rhythm section, you just have nothing. wouldn't you?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I couldn't do both at the same
Yeah.
time.
Oh, I know guys that can these days.
Well,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So, okay, so 1961, the Tornadoes, it was rock and roll madness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Yeah.
tell us about, in 1963, you formed a band called Midnighters.
Yep. Yeah, we.
Who was in that band? Well,
There was Ken Mitchell once again.
Yeah.
He'd gone back onto keyboards,
yeah.
and we got another drummer in, Tommy Menzel.
Oh, another drummer.
Mm.
Anyone can
Yeah.
play drums.
Yeah, that's
obviously,
right.
So.
Yeah. Lance Ryan on bass,
Yeah.
and Jimmy Patrick on guitar.
I'll give that one
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah.
There's 4 of them up there. No, it's great because you went to England, didn't you?
Yeah, that band went to England. We did a show with Johnny O'Keefe. John had come over a few times. At the time, of course, he was a superstar in Australia.
Mm.
And after the show, we were discussing a few things and saying, we felt that we'd gone as far as we could in Perth.
Yeah.
We were doing the Club 17 and that sort of stuff. And said to Jock, we're thinking of going to Sydney, He said, yeah, good idea. I said, well, we're tossing up Sydney or London. And he said, well, if you make it in Sydney, you still got to make it in London. You make it in London, you've made it in Sydney.
Yeah.
So, full of confidence, off we went.
Of course.
Yeah. And then went pretty well in Europe. Actually, we got off the boat in Genoa.
Yeah.
And did a few jobs around Genoa and the coastline, the Italian Riviera.
Yeah.
Then over to England, and things were going reasonably well there. We were getting a bit of work. The bass player Lance was married, so he was destined to return early. And the band started falling apart. So after about 6
tough.
or 8 months, the keyboard player Ken and myself started working pubs,
Yeah.
which was good fun, just keyboards and guitar
Yep.
and vocals,
Yeah.
and learning.
Yeah.
There was a wealth of talent in London that at that time, the 64, 65. You could pop into Soho or wherever, and there'd be Georgie Fame or Zoot Money or and these great bands playing.
Yeah.
It was a really good learning curve.
Yeah. Bit of an education, and so you obviously got back to Australia and formed a band called Sons of Eden.
I did, yeah.
So you took something from the UK, you came back and played UK music.
Yeah,
I think it was a point of difference for you at the time.
Yeah, and I was sort of looking a bit different, I guess, because I had a lot of clothes that I was wearing in England or London, which I got home and they were a bit outlandish.
Yes.
So I might as well sing the songs that I was singing over there.
Yeah.
It was a good band. Had Johnny Hunter on bass, Trevor Gibson on keyboards, Robert Taylor, who's left us unfortunately.
Yeah.
Brilliant drummer.
Yeah.
And myself out front.
Yeah.
On the guitar, and it was a good band.
Yeah.
And then just wanted to get back into a bit of rock and roll, and we formed a band because of the Trevor had a day job, John had a day job.
Yep.
It was just a bit difficult to to work around the nights, and so we formed a band called Profile.
Yeah.
To satisfy the customers at a place called Latin Quarter.
Yeah.
Which was
in
was North Perth in those
Yeah,
days. Now
yeah.
it's Northbridge.
Northbridge, yeah.
It was when the Italians had it,
Mm.
and the Greeks,
Yes.
and now it's Asian.
Yeah.
So yeah, and actually the guy that owned the Latin Quarter was Fred Italiano. So
Yeah.
you couldn't get much more Italian
Yes.
than that.
Yeah.
And it was a great thing. It used to go through till 3 o'clock in the morning, and all the musos had come up after their gigs, if they had gigs.
Because it was a late one.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'd probably in a set of 35 minutes, we'd probably only play half a dozen songs,
Yeah.
and the rest was telling jokes or
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
the piss out of people.
It was more entertaining
It was, yeah.
in those days, even
Yeah.
with the dress, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had nice pink and orange suits.
So you won WA Hoadley's Battle of the Bands in 1968 in a band called
Procla,
Procla.
yeah.
Hoadley's comes up a lot, battles of the bands on this show.
Yeah, it was a big thing in those days.
Violet
to do
Crumbles.
it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
You know, I just always liked the crunchy better, but
Yeah, I was wrapped in lollygobble bliss bombs.
okay.
But that particular year was the first year that they'd brought in 2 categories, and Mark IV won one category and Procla
Wow.
won the other. So we went to Melbourne, they went to Sydney for the
Wow.
finals.
Yeah.
And we'd put together a bit of a show as well as a bit of comedy in it as
Yeah.
well, which I think mystified the Melbourne audiences a bit. And it didn't help that one of the competitors from Victoria happened to have a #1 single at the time, a guy by the name of Doug Parkinson.
All right.
And he had Dear Prudence riding high
Yeah.
on the charts. We didn't really stand a chance.
Yes, of course.
But we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, good experience.
Good experience.
So-
One of the DJs, in fact, was I'll never forget. What's his name? Yorkie.
Oh, Lionel York. There's
Yeah.
a plug there.
Lionel was a compere on the show.
So, you joined Troubadours in 1969,
Yep.
and
Did.
that went to 76, and
Yeah.
'cause I remember seeing the Troubadours in the 80s or
Yeah.
late 80s.
Yeah,
but,
the band started in '63.
yeah,
Started more or less as a folk trio,
yeah,
thus the name Troubadours. And actually, the name was actually supposed to be Troubadours. However, the signwriter who wrote the name on the drum couldn't spell it, and it came out as Troubadours. We were stuck with it for the rest of our lives.
that's it. Unreal.
And
Well,
yeah,
that worked.
There was Peter Bull and Rick Selby, who were, or Peter Bull was English, Rick was
Yeah.
Australian,
Yeah.
and Jimmy Lee, Peter Nell, and Little Lloyd all came from Singapore,
Wow. Yep.
and so that's where the country, the folk thing came in, because they were all playing guitars.
Yes.
They decided to get into the harmony stuff, and Troubadours always had good harmonies.
Good harmonies, yeah.
Rick was at the helm with doing the harmonies. And then I joined, as you said, in '69, and I've always been a showman,
Yeah, absolutely.
and got a show off or something.
Showman, there was lots of you in those days. That's what you did.
Yeah.
You know, you entertained people. And
That was the.
that's what I remember going to see. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Entertainment.
And you actually hit it. You went to see.
Yeah.
You didn't just go to listen.
No.
Actually, it was a visual thing as well
Yes.
as. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we. I'll get onto the other instrument now.
Yeah.
I'll explain why I was blowing into a thing.
Well, a sax thing.
Yeah, that's it. The bent piece of pipe.
Yeah. You were blowing into a few things, I'm sure, in those days. Peter.
Go in there. Well, we did go in there.
Yeah.
Jimmy Lee had left the band,
Yeah.
and started an agency in Perth, but wanted to go back to Singapore to spread his wings as an
Yes.
agent there, and was getting quite a bit of work up there.
Yeah.
So he'd booked the Troubadours up there, and at that particular time there was a lot of Filipino bands who were excellent copyists. They could copy anything musically and visually, but they all had at least one brass instrument, maybe two, sometimes three.
And there wasn't much around
In
Australia.
not in Perth. Hardly anyone.
Yeah.
We'll get onto that later on. But
How many cheeks could you pull a week playing sax compared to guitar?
well, that's right. Yeah.
It was no contest, really.
No. So, however, Jimmy Lee in his wisdom said, "Oh, give Andersen a trumpet. Take up when you come up to Singapore.
Yeah.
You've got to have brass in the band." So I tried trumpet, and I was never enthralled with trumpet. Sax had something more sexy going for it than a trumpet, I thought. So I went and bought a Shanghai Lark Chinese saxophone, which blew flat on the C note, which was probably the most important note in the whole thing. And
Herb Abbott probably would have argued on that point with you anyway about the trumpet and the sax. Herb Abbott?
Oh, yeah. True.
Anyway.
So anyway, I by the time I got to Singapore, I could play about 4 notes, and that was about my lot. A lot of hard work went in up there,
Yeah.
and finally got a few more sounds out of it.
Yeah.
And when we returned to Perth, we did 6 months. We opened the Shangri-La Hotel up there.
Right.
I did 6 months up there. By then, the lip was starting to work, and I was starting to realise we're at the right places to put my fingers. And a band came over from Melbourne called The Graduate, or The Vibrants to start with, sorry. And John Hosson was the sax player in the band, Hoss as we've all known him. And he got up and had a blow at a gig one day with the troops, and with the 2 saxes, the sound expanded and exploded. So I just kept on going, we need Hoss, we need Hoss. And after about 3 or 4 months, Hoss weakened and came back to Perth and joined the band.
Yeah.
Perth was a bit of a graveyard for Eastern States bands.
Yeah.
There was so much work in the town.
Yeah.
You could work 5, 6 nights a week if you wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas in Melbourne, they were all doing spots.
Yeah.
And they may do 2 or 3 spots a night, only doing half a dozen songs a spot, because they were all pop stars. But they weren't making a lot of money. They could only do a couple of nights a week.
Yeah.
So they'd come over here. They may have a #1 single in the charts or something, but they would see the money that was available in Perth, and half the band would go back to Melbourne, and the other half would stay here.
Yeah, we've got a few of those. So lots of people have mentioned the Latin Quarter on the show. Just go back a bit, because I mean, where was the Latin Quarter, and you know, what was it? You know, tell us more about it.
It was just a small room, heading out of town along William Street.
Yep.
There was a club on the right called the Zanzibar.
Oh yeah, I know.
And on the next block, about equidistant in the middle of the
Latin
block,
Quarter
was a tiny little stairway that went up the top, and Latin Quarter was
so
up there.
what was it, 50 or 100 people, or? Was
Look, you'd be pushed to put 100 people.
Okay.
In there. Yeah, you'd probably get 60 people in there. Yeah. And everyone would come up and with their King Browns or whatever they were drinking, and get their tickets, because you had to have tickets to bring the. You'd put the.
So they didn't sell alcohol in there?
No, you had to bring your own, and well, no. And of course, a lot of people would go home and with a pocket full of tickets and forget about it, and so we'd stay there till 6 o'clock and get rid of it all for them.
Okay. So group therapy, after you went to Queensland. For a while in that, and then came
Troubadours.
back.
Troubadours were offered by Johnny O'Keefe to be his backing band, and because he came quite regularly to Perth, and he really enjoyed the backing that we gave him, because we'd had all the harmonies and everything for him and all that. And he said, "Oh, I want you guys to be a backing band." And we sort of discussed it and thought, we'd rather make it on our own rather than be a backing band. And he passed the word on to his sometime manager by the name of Ivan Damon. Where's the bell?
That's about the 100th time we've heard that name on the show.
And Ivan came and had a look at the band and said, "Look, I need you over in Surfers Paradise at Christmas."
Faja, where we were playing.
Yeah. So he had lots of things in mind, which turned out to our benefit.
Yep.
We did a place called the Playroom on the Gold Coast, which had a deal with had guest houses in New South Wales, just over the border in Coolangatta, New South Wales, and all the kids used to come up from Sydney and Melbourne and have their holidays in these guest houses. It was cheap to stay. They had bus tours organised for them, and the woman, that Beryl Carnell, that owned the Playroom, which was quite a big room, she'd organise bus trips from the guest houses up to her club, and she was able to sell grog, etc., and huge crowds, and that's where Ivan put us in there, and the beer garden in Surfers Paradise, which was a big drinking spot for everyone. Everyone that went to Surfers Paradise, they had to go to the beer garden. So we had a ready-made crowd. He then said, "Okay, now that you've been exposed to all these people, we'll go to where the people are," which is back in Sydney.
Yeah.
So everyone that saw us at the Playroom or on the Gold Coast would turn up in Sydney, and so we had a ready-made crowd there.
And so then you, Shazam the Showband. Someone had an accident, rammed into a cop car, and then it was that you, and then did you die and come back to life?
Did. Yeah.
Can you tell us about that and what that experience was like? Or?
Well, Shazam had formed out after we'd left the beer garden, and we'd based ourselves in Cairns, and we were headed off. Bass player and myself and his wife and a girlfriend, my girlfriend. We were going up to the Daintree. Had a 16-foot Haynes behind us, which is quite a heavy boat. And we were off to the Daintree for 2 days off that we had. And out of the blue, blue and white came across the road and smack dab head on into us. And of course, I don't remember much about it at the time, but apparently I died. And the strange thing was that it was, I've always been a huge fan of Elvis, and he died on the 16th of August, and so did I.
Wow.
I was 5 years later, but this was 1982, but it was the same date. And, but
the cop car actually hit you? And
yeah, they came across the road at us. I think they just missed the corner. There was about 1 kilometre of straight road, and then there was a bend, and we were coming around the bend, and they didn't make the bend. Yeah, maybe gone to sleep or something, or maybe something else.
So obviously that was a bit of an eye opener for you.
Well, eye closer, really.
Well, excuse the pun, but then that. You came back with the Troubadours in '83. Yeah. Joined again.
Yeah. After we got out of hospital, 3 months in hospital, we'd gone down to Brisbane, and Peter Bull from the Troubadours rang and said, "We're doing a our 21st birthday party, and we need guys from different parts of the band and different eras. We'd like you to come back over and do that. So I said, okay, well, at the moment, the band was not doing much. A couple of the guys were going back to Cairns. Slats was going to stay with his parents on the Gold Coast, and I said, okay, well, I'll come home for a while. And so I came over and stayed. Yeah. I didn't know at the time that Reg Carson was actually lead singer with the Troops, and he was leaving, so that left a gap for me, and
fantastic.
There I stayed.
It's all about timing, isn't it? And
and luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Pete, we've got this guitar that we asked. No, you don't want to play?
That's all right.
Could you sign as your hand?
Oh
working?
yeah, that.
I'm going to ask you to play anything. I don't even know. This might not even be in tune. Well, it sort of is.
It's not bad for a drummer.
Okay, thank you. Hey, we get everyone to sign it because we're going to auction it off at Telethon coming up soon.
Oh, fantastic.
Hopefully.
Oh, great.
Shouldn't say that, but white pen or black pen, your choice.
Oh, I
sir.
see. You've got. Look at that.
There's some great names, and unbelievable names on there.
Okay.
You can put it next to mine if you like. Or,
okay. Well, I'll do that.
Would you like a black pen?
No problem. Use a black pen.
Good on you, Pete.
I'm not prejudiced.
No. Just get that pen out.
Okay.
Okay, so what was your earliest band influence? What music influenced you in the early days?
Basically rock and roll. It was anything. When I was 11 years old, my father actually came originally from, would you like that?
Yes, thank you.
From Queensland. And when I was 11, we did a trip back to Queensland to meet the Rellies.
Yep.
Whom
thank you.
I've never met. And my auntie and uncle had a house below. When I say below, this place called Cloudland was like a pagoda was here years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And a big dance hall, and they lived down the scarp below Cloudland, and I heard this noise coming from Cloudland, and I went outside and it was Bill Haley and the Comets live, and
that was it.
Totally wrapped in it. Basically anything rock and roll, anything because that early rock and roll had a lovely.
It just sat with you forever. That
it just enthralled me.
So, did you ever have any other jobs throughout your life apart from music?
Yeah. A couple of times I worked in auto parts. Yeah. Not for about that long. Well, that long. And had an uncle that was in the rag trade. So he talked me into the rag trade for about 18 months. Other than that, nothing really. I didn't want to be anything else but involved in music. Once
you got the bug, it's hard to.
It was all over.
Was Dennis Broad in Cloudland or?
No.
You mentioned Cloudland before.
Ivan Damon used to run his business from Cloudland. Dennis, I would say Dennis would have worked there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because he was with a couple of bands in Brisbane at the time.
I thought someone set me up there, but anyway. What was your favourite band of all time?
Favourite band of all time.
Multiple choice.
Yeah. I think Eagles for their harmony.
Good choice.
Glenn Miller.
All right.
I love Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
Had a sound that was unique.
Yes, absolutely.
So, a lot of varied influence. Varied influences.
What would the best Perth band you would have saw live, would you say, that captured your imagination?
Oh, excuse me. Really hard to say. There was so many good bands around because there was so much work in Perth.
Sure.
Every band was worth their salt, was at least working 2 nights a week, getting experience and just becoming better and better.
Yeah.
I thought Saab was a good band.
Yep.
Bakery was a good band.
Yeah.
Probably the band that shocked me most of all.
You're going to say
was,
Magnificent Seven, eh?
No, I'm not sorry.
Oh,
No, it's not.
I just thought that was on the tip of your lips to say.
Well,
Yeah,
Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, I knew.
they were great in their field.
Yeah.
Yeah, still are.
Yes.
Yeah, on occasions,
Yes,
same as the
on-
Troubadours
yes.
are on occasions.
So,
the band that knocked me out, probably the very first time I saw them, just to see a band and go, wow, was Ray Hoff and the Offbeats
okay.
when they came from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And they sort of stayed in Perth for quite some time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There's lots of amazing bands in Perth.
Oh,
You know, many of them. I mean, we have these pub legends. This is volume 2.
mhm.
Hold this up for Strawny. Is that all right, Strawny? There, where you got it? Was that better or that? Look, pub legends of Perth. You can get them at ProCopy. www.procopy.com.au.
Great.
Just a quick plug for them. You know, proceeds are going to the Pico Foundation, or a foundation that we're trying to put together for musicians in Perth. So trying to help out there. But yeah, there's a lot
great.
of really nice bands on there.
Yeah,
You know,
tremendous.
on this particular one, we have The Frames, Perfect Strangers, Innocent Bystanders, Manteca, you know, Seal on the Beam, you know, Steve Garden, Greg Bird doing Albatross, a special rendition
Oh,
of that. The
great.
old Birdman and the old Stephen Guard. So
Yeah,
there's volume 1 there as well. So
yeah. Troubadours aren't on that, are they?
volume 1, I don't think so. And-
Because we moved over east for almost all the 70s. We missed all that.
You got V Capri, you know.
Yeah,
And you know, yeah, bands like that. And,
yes, we were away for all that era.
yeah,
Yeah,
Joy
we-
Boys, Flying Fonzarellis, great bands. Breakaway, it's on there.
Excellent.
Dennis doing.
That's a collector's item, really,
It is.
isn't it? Yeah.
Volume 3 will be out soon, hopefully. so
Fantastic.
give that a plug. So, what was your favourite TV show growing up?
6 o'clock rock.
Mm.
Johnny O'Keefe.
Never heard that one before, but great.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause, I didn't have a TV when I was growing up.
There's one more than 5
So I-
o'clock rock. Wasn't it?
That was
6 o'clock rock.
at 6 o'clock rock
Yeah.
on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I used to go around to the neighbours' places,
Yeah,
whoever
watch
had a
it.
TV, and I'd knock on their door because I knew their kids.
Yeah.
We went to school
Yeah.
together. Got to watch 6 o'clock rock.
Yeah. And do you have, what does your future hold for you, Peter? What,
Tomorrow, I hope.
yep.
Definitely hope tomorrow.
Living by the day and
Yeah.
and that next gig round the corner and
Yeah, but as it
yeah,
comes.
like all of us.
Yeah.
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 Do you collect anything?
Wives.
Wives. Can you tell us how many?
I've had 4.
4.
Mm.
Wow.
I'm not going to have another one.
You're the common denominator in all of that.
Yeah.
I've only had one for 32 years.
Okay. Well, you're
Very
yeah.
lucky.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, absolutely. In many ways.
Yeah, I'm still looking.
Still?
Yeah, I've given up though.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah, I've just borrowed them now.
Borrow. No, she's not. You can't borrow. No.
Okay.
So, what would you put on your gravestone?
Gravestone. Ta-ta.
Ta, ta, ta.
Yeah.
Oh,
As
bloody
in
hell.
ta-ta.
Yes. Like a titar, guitar.
Don't go there.
So is there anyone you would recommend to come on the show? Because I know people have recommended that you come on. Is there any names you could... That could be on our list already. We've got hundreds on there. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, how's your budget? Johnny Young.
oh, Johnny Young, I think my producer's called Johnny Young. Have you got anywhere? You spoke to him? Oh, he hasn't told me
There
anything.
you go. Look at that.
You know.
Mushroom.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's hanging out to get on the show.
Yeah. Have you done John Lemon?
Yeah, John Lemon.
Oh, good.
Yeah, coming up. I can't say too much because I get in trouble because if I say something and they're not coming up, or I've said it before they're coming up, and I can't. You know, damn if I do and damn if I don't. Sort of thing. You know.
The guy that I took the place of in the troops coming back in 83, Reg Carson.
Reg Carson, yeah. He's come up a few times, so yeah.
So I've come up with nothing new really then, have I?
No, and look, Johnny Young, it'd be nice to sing Close Your Eyes at the end of that. I'll just get the guitar out and we'll just do
And do all that.
Yeah. You know, Al can sit on my knee as I'm playing it and, you know, away we go. Peter, is there something we don't know about you that you might want to share with us and share with the audience?
Oh, yeah. No.
No. Oh, yeah, no.
That's what all the sportsmen say. Yeah, no.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, no.
What does that mean? Sportsman, talking about. Someone's put this Dockers bloody thing there. Just get the Eagles. Can you get a shot in on that, please? Are you a footy fan?
I am, yeah. Yeah, I used to be. I used to follow that team that the Aldi man was following.
Oh, we are the Navy Blues.
Yeah.
You saw the Aldi man, the Aldi holic. He's a nutcase. You know.
I know.
I mean, I thought he was playing there or something. No, I just go to the openings and.
He did get you to get a keyboard to sign, didn't he?
Yeah, he
not
did
a guitar.
too. Yeah. Well, we're pretty snappy around here. I mean, you obviously enjoyed the catering and you know the sense of family here
right.
and the massage and I saw someone getting the short curlers with the hairdresser and the
especially the happy ending.
Yeah. Okay, well, on that note, look, Pete, thanks very much for coming in.
Greg, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
And I think this is a great idea, putting all this down for posterity, keep everything so that people knew we were doing something.
Yeah.
In the future, they'll look back and say, hey, there was something happening back then.
And there certainly was, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And on that note, see you later.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're going to rock around clock tonight. Put the glad flags on, join me home. Have some fun when the clock strikes 1. We're going to rock around the clock tonight. Going to rock till the broad daylight. Going to rock around the clock tonight. When the time takes 5, 6, and 7, we'll be right in 7. And we're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Gonna rock till the broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. All right, let's begin. Well, it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 2, we'll be going strong. So will you. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Gonna rock till the broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. Clock strikes 12, we'll cool off and start to rock around the clock again. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. Gonna rock till the broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. Woo!
Johnny, Alan Simpson. I know, mate, calm down. The Gary Dunn, you don't want to speak to Gary? Oh, you do want to speak to him, of course, yeah. No worries. Yeah, it's all about Gary Dunn, yeah. All right, mate, look, if you come in, we'll book you in the future. That'd be fantastic. Good on you, mate. Remember, close your eyes.